Yeah, that'd be great.
I gotta do sudo service start chat. I just like saying that 'cause it's stupid. Yeah, we'll be watching too. So
Awesome. That's helpful. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. 35
Okay.
people. What I'll do is I'll keep my eye on the chat room for all the you know
Donkeys.
any randos coming in here.
Okay.
Just slap them out.
I just said that live. I got to be careful.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right.
It's got a minute delay, so keep that in mind when you're
Yeah.
talking to folks in the chat. It's literally like 30 seconds to
Yeah.
a minute delay.
All right. Well, off I go. I'm going to give this a shot. So I'm going to thank you for your help. And
No problem,
for
man.
people who wonder why I just said that, it's because Noah and Pedro are helping me do my live chat here. So awesome. All right.
All right, man.
See ya.
Well,
Thanks.
we'll be yeah. We'll,
All right. So I think I am good to go here. I'm going to mute that. And let's go to the YouTube just to make sure this is working real quick. Oh, I'm a little quiet. All right. Main. Hey, how about now? Can you hear me? Scott, let me know. Let me know how that volume sounds. This is going to be a technical, very quiet. Uh-oh. Okay. Stand by. Oh, yeah, you're right. Now, that might be... Why is that? Let me... Oh. How about now? Yeah, sorry, everyone. I turned up the wrong mixer knob, so you were you were hearing me over a microphone that's very far away. Now I got one that's pinned to me, and okay. Here we go. Yeah. Sound good? Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay. So I will try to ignore the computer a little bit. I don't multitask well, so I'm going to just try to move straight ahead into showing you some stuff. I'm drinking some delicious Los Angeles water from a cool glass container with a rubber protector on it. Nothing too exciting. Okay, I'm going to switch my cameras over to the workbench and to an overhead so that I can show you what I'm working on here today. And I'm going to zoom in that. I'm going to try to avoid narrating every last thing I do, but you will probably catch me doing just that. Whoa. Come back, window. And Logitech camera settings. I'm going to zoom that little guy in a bit. Okay. So here's what I'm up to. Let me get over here, away from my computer and over to the workbench. So let's check the time. Okay, we're supposed to be live at 12. We're on a little bit early. But I think I'll move ahead with this, and people can catch up on rewind if they like. So here's what I wanted to play around with here today. I have an iPad, and oh, I have a trackpad over here so I can kind of try to see the chat. And let's see, let me grab my keyboard. This is my cool, by the way, IO-free mechanical keyboard inspired by a typewriter. I love this thing. It's a little funky to type on, honestly, but it's clicky and I like it. So I'm going to try to scale up the chat window so I can see. Thanks. Yes. So this is an old iPad case I had with my iPad 1, and it's a little big for my new iPad, which is this 9.7-inch Pro from kind of the last revisions. So I sewed a little thing in here yesterday, if you saw my Instagram or Twitter, that allows me to stick the pencil in here, and I can store the pencil alongside, and now it fits the case, which is super cool. So good, I can see everything pretty well now. So here's what I want to do. I've got this iPad, and I love this pinball game for iPad called Pinball Arcade. And that exists on a whole bunch of platforms. I first found it on PS4, and these guys are dedicated to doing a lot of recreations of historic tables that are awesome, like Addams Family Pinball, and Theater of Magic is one of my favorites, and I think Twilight Zone. So there's a ton of these very, very cool pinball tables, and I didn't want to play it on the virtual screen here. I wanted to try to play it with real buttons. So here's the game. I think on this, hey, oh good, I've crashed it. Let me restart that. Let me close a bunch of stuff. So I wanted to get real controls, and I looked around, and there's that very cool iCade by Ion, which allows you to slip the iPad in. It looks like a tabletop, like a bar top arcade. That thing's pretty cool. But I don't know if it has buttons on the side. It would be kind of fun to mod it with buttons on the side. And I haven't given up on that idea or making like a full-blown custom thing. But in the short term, let me turn the controls to normal. So iCade off. So iCade talks to these kinds of devices. I'll talk about how they do it in a second. So a bunch of games can use this iCade kind of standard. And so what I'm going to do is, let me show you what the game looks like normally. So I don't have any tables unlocked on this version other than like the default. Okay, so here's Arabian Nights. Turn on the sound. Okay. So you basically have plunger to pull and 2 buttons to hit the flippers. How many people just want to watch me play pinball for like an hour? That'd be kind of fun. So what I want to do is control those 3 things, the plunger and the 2 buttons, with a physical input, a physical controller. So what I found was, in looking around, this thing exists, and this is a pinball controller for iPad, but it's for a different game. It's only for this one game. I think it's called Ultra HD Pinball HD Collection, which looks fine, but it's not the one I want to use. So what we're going to do today is poke around in this thing and try to turn it into a controller for my iPad that uses this iCade standard I mentioned, not what these guys built into it. So let me set this over here. Here's what we get. I poked around in this. I don't want to like lie to you. This is a little bit like a cooking show in the sense that I poked around in this before and posted some photos the other day of it. So I know a little bit what I'm going to see, but some of this I'm just going to be making up as I go along. First thing is these batteries. Ooh, these ones are dead. These are corroded. The other set I got were okay. Can you see that? Let me switch over to my camera. These are everyone's favorite lusty alkaline batteries. These are a little worse for the wear, so I'm going to get rid of those. I don't need that. Oh, there's some corrosion crud. And, one second. Okay, I'm going to switch now to, I'm going to invert these views so you can see what I'm doing a little better. Okay, so here's this Duo controller, and it's got arcade buttons on the sides and this plunger. So the reason I can't use this is these guys developed their own communication protocol that goes using Bluetooth from this table to just their one game. So it's not really all that useful for playing other games. The way it would go in here, and my iPad's a little small for this, but it kind of doesn't matter. regular full-size iPad would kind of click in there. So it goes there, you can play the game, you can see it right there, super freaking awesome. So the thing is, iCade, what their standard is really just a keyboard. So iCade game controllers, and there's like a little one called the 8-bitty that they have, and then there's the iCade console and the iCade core, and I think maybe one other. So those all act like a Bluetooth keyboard that is typing some letters versus this, which is some more obscure protocol. And I think someone has hacked this and figured out what the protocol is and made a little PC driver so that they can use this on Windows PC games. But the cool thing about the iCade one is that you can essentially talk to any iCade compatible game with a regular keyboard, and that can either be Bluetooth or that can be plugged in with the little camera connector kit. So, so check out, let's see, what do I want to show you first? So let's take a look at, let's just open this thing up. That's kind of fun. So we have, let me use this screwdriver. Wrong end. Oh, I got that in tiny mode. Let me grab a different screwdriver. All right. Let's make fast work of that. Hey Blitz City DIY, the hardware on that controller is really awesome. Yeah, have you played around with this? Has anyone here monkeyed around with this controller? It's cool. I was originally thinking of making something from scratch with arcade buttons. Maybe I'll do that, but this one will work pretty well, I think. Okay, so let's pull these screws and not lose them. One thing I like to do for the whole not losing screws things is sometimes just take a magnet and let the screws stick to the magnet. Screws magnet. So if I lose them, I lose all of them. What I also found immediately with this is, like many consumer products, there are a couple of screws hidden underneath the rubber feet. 2 of the rubber feet. So I'm sure most people watching this take things apart a lot, but if you're new to taking stuff apart, don't yank real hard on plastic clamshell things if you think you've taken all the screws out without first checking that there aren't screws hidden underneath labels or rubber feet. Okay, that's all the visible ones, and then I think it was under these that I found a set. Here's how you can start to try to figure this out. I'm just going to jam a little spudger in here. You can see where this starts coming apart and where it sticks. So it's pulling apart there, so I don't think there's screws under that one. But it's stuck right here, so we got to peel off these feet. Move my operation over so you can see it a little better. All right. If you hear dogs barking in the background, don't be alarmed. We have a couple, and we're also babysitting a little puppy that's very yelly. If they come out here, you guys can meet them. All right. So pry it open, check for wiring so you don't yank anything apart. All right, there's what's inside of this. I'm going to pull that wire so this will open. Okay, so hold this up a little bit. Here you can see We've got micro switches on the sides with these little blue arcade buttons. We have the battery in the middle. It's a 3 AAA battery case in the middle. Here's the board that's a Bluetooth controller, microcontroller on here, and then we've got our plunger button. So here's the plunger. Here's the mechanical plunger. It's got a nice plungy action, which is super cool, and this blew me away. I was looking at the controller. I'm going to unplug this wire right here. This is the LED that lights up the front of the case there. So this blew me away. Plunger hits this little micro switch right here. That's how that registers that the plunger is hit, except in their game, when you pull the plunger back physically, you see the virtual one in the game moving right along with you, which is like, wait, what? How are they doing that? It's not like a linear potentiometer in there or something. They actually put a distance sensor in here, which is freaking awesome. This is a little IR sensor, which is why I first was like, why are there 5 wires here? This is just a switch. But it turns out that they're powering a little infrared distance sensor, and they can tell when you pull the plunger back, which has this nice bright white rubbery tip on the end. When that goes back, it reports to their game. I'm not going to be able to reuse this, or I mean, probably someone could, but I'm going to do this fairly simply. But that's really awesome. That's super impressive that they did that. I get excited about these things. Okay, so that's what's on the insides of this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to reuse those 2 buttons there and this micro switch here. And I won't need their board at all. I'll keep it, maybe do something with it at some point. But the board I'm going to put in here is going to be a Teensy. So here I've got a Teensy 3.2. This is a nice board for this. It's small. It doesn't draw much power. And I'm actually going to power my board right off of the iPad using the iPad's camera kit controller. So let me switch. I'm going to switch my cameras here for a second. Okay. Ooh, nice fade. So, yeah, Gabe, hats off to the designers and engineers that made that. I totally agree. They really kicked butt. It's super impressive. I wish they had just made it somehow an more open standard. I think for iOS devices, there's now sort of an official controller. It came out with iOS 9, maybe it was. M5 certified controllers, and I think those can have analog input. So, you know, I think these guys may have gone away. I don't know if this company still exists, but maybe we'll employ the help of Tony D or Scott or Lamore or someone to figure out using that IR sensor, because that could be pretty cool. So anyway, so I'm going to use the Teensy, and I'm going to use it with the iPad's keyboard USB connector, which is like that camera connector kit. But first I want to show you, here's my sort of process of figuring out how this is going to work and if it's going to work. Uh-oh, my camera just went funny. Camera, did you just overheat? It's technical difficulties, please stand by. Let me check my camera out. Oh, that's not good. My main camera just died. That's awesome. All right, so I'm going to swap this camera out for my little computer's webcam. It's way over there. So please, yeah, yay, live streaming. That's like a really nice camera that just died. That's my Sony Micro Four Thirds, or what do you call it, A6300. Yeah, I had one job. Okay, let's see. If I switch over to one of these views has, all right, excuse me. I'm gonna turn that camera off. It didn't die from batteries, did it? I think I have it plugged in. but maybe not. Oh, that's what happened. Haha. Okay, we're back. All right, I got my situation fixed here. Hey, I'm back. Okay. Best way to test is to go live. Yes, it is. Hey Bruno Bronski, you're absolutely right. I totally want to build the button box for camera switching because it's lame using a trackpad for it. That is definitely a must-build project. If you haven't seen that, the Reese brothers built a very cool arcade button box, and you can use it as a keyboard HID using one of the feathers I think they put in there. Might have been even Bluetooth, but you could do wired or Bluetooth, so that would be super cool. Okay, so my camera is back, and what I want to show you is inside of Bluetooth settings on my iPad here, I'm going to go ahead and connect to this Apple keyboard here. I think it's that one. Is it you? I should name these things a little more distinctly. I think it's that one, John Park's keyboard. Let's find out. I just go to Notepad and I type in junk. Yes, okay. So now I'm going to show you something that the Ion iCade people put up in their little developers resource section. And to do this, let me switch to this view and then fix my weird squished camera. All right. Okay, so this is what Ion put out as the sort of how our specification works. And pardon my scrolling here. Let me get, here's the cover. Arcade Developers Resource. So the way their stuff works is when you press a button, like a micro switch arcade button down, it says this sends a Y to the iPad for that particular button. And then when you release it, it sends a T. So they essentially use a down, up as two separate keyboard keystrokes. So it's nothing all that obscure or weird. Whenever you play a game that has iCade controls turned on, it's just going to look for keyboard commands coming across. And here's their sort of standard setup. So if you have a joystick, if you go up, it sends a W. And then when you release that, it sends an E. Same with these buttons. So here's H is when I press that button down, R is when I lift it, and then this button on the right, L when it's down, and V when it's lifted, and so on. So that's kind of all there is to it. So what I'm going to do now is test that out over on my iPad using just this regular Bluetooth keyboard that I hooked up. So if I go to the pinball game here, and let me exit the game, lose my progress, turn down the volume here. Go to the settings, and here in the settings, iCade on, off, iPad, iPad/iPhone, and 8-bitty. Those are all different sets of, I don't know why they have them, but they've got slightly different configurations, I guess, for the different buttons on their controllers. So I'm going to use the straight iCade iPad controller setup. And now let me go to my table here, go to good old Arabian Nights from Williams, 1996. I'll start it, and you watch this plunger right here, actually. I think LV, V, oh, there we go, LV. So I'm just pressing L and V on the, get that glare out of your way. L and V on the keyboard here is going to be really hard to play with it that way, but I can, boom. So that's all I really need to do with a microcontroller now, is have a microcontroller that will press those keys for me when I push a button. So that's where the teensy comes in. So this, here's a teensy. Let's see, which one is which? I had a couple of them out that I was goofing around with. We'll try this one. Let me see what this one is currently doing. Yeah, okay. So this is one. All I did with this is teensies are really good at, hey, get in there, camera. Teensies are, one of the things they do real well is they can emulate a USB keyboard, or they can be a USB keyboard. So I wrote a little sketch and put it on here that all it's going to do is type in H, L, and V and R. Those are the keyboard pairings for two of the buttons that are the, through trial and error, I figured out are the, what do you call them, toggle buttons or flipper buttons on the arcade game. So I don't need that anymore. And I'm actually not going to use Bluetooth at all, so I'll leave that alone. So here, watch this. I'll make sure this is working. I'll go back to my notepad. And when I plug this in, it should power you up and do something, unless I might have changed the sketch on that. Let's go put that sketch on there. So this is happening in real time. And I will switch back over to this view. And let me go to a pinball. I'm going to Arduino here, and I'm looking for, that might be the one I was testing it on. Let's see, what does this one do? Okay, here's my little test. So I'm going to hide the loop up here. Yeah, that's what that one's currently doing, I bet. Okay, so let me comment out all of this. Hey, why are you, oops. And I'll uncomment this. Okay, hey, Stuff with Kirby. Sorry you're late, but I am just showing this hack I'm doing on using a little teensy here to control a pinball controller, virtual controller for iPad. So what I've got right here, if you look in this Arduino sketch, I'm just using the USB functionality on the teensy with this keyboard print, and it's sending an H. Then I have a tiny delay, L, R, V. And if we look at the mappings for this arcade, I think you can see that, right? I'll hit H, which is left flipper's button pressed down, then L, which is the right one down, then R, which is the left one back up, and V back up. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug in my Teeny and connect this. And one thing I want to tell you, if you've never done development with Arduino sketches that emulate keyboards, you end up with a lot of junk written in your actual Arduino sketch, because when you plug it in and upload it, in this case, it's just going to start typing those things. So I'm going to kind of give myself a little comment area here and leave my cursor right there. So now let me find a USB cable and plug in. I've stolen all my own USB cables. Here's one. Okay. So plugging in teensy, and yeah, I got it set up. If you care about these kind of settings, I've got it set up. This is a teensy 3.2, and its USB type is keyboard. And now I'll go ahead and upload that. And oh, did I break something? Yeah, I broke something in the sketch. I don't need these right now. Ah, and there it goes. So you can see it's working. It's typing that stuff over and over and over again. I'm going to pull the plug. And now let's go plug this in and test it out over on the iPad. I got to tell you, one thing that this brings to mind, when I worked in animation, a comment that you'd hear a lot was, don't narrate what you're doing. You'll see this a lot in some animation or in some student work, or kind of all of us are guilty of it, is saying what you're, I'm going to go over here and touch this bandsaw. You know what, I'm going to go over here and do it. Well, now here I am years later, stuck narrating everything I do for lack of something to say sometimes. But I hope it's entertaining. Okay, so here I am in my, let me switch you over to, oh, I really want that button box. No, and Pedro. Okay, so now, if this works, yay. So you can see now I've just got that little set of letter pairings being typed over and over again into the notepad here. And if I switch out to my pinball game, there you can see I've got the, let me put a ball in play. Okay, so there we go. I've got a computer spamming the buttons. This is my robot that plays pinball for me. It's actually a pretty darn good player. Ooh, look, here comes Alana. Alana's going to visit the live stream as I promised. Hey, puppy. I've just been delivered a dog. Hello. Oh, hello. Oh, let's switch cameras. Oh, no, you're ready for your close-up, right? There you go. Hello. Hello. Bored by technology. Okay, thanks for the visit. She's sweet. You should never work with children and dogs, they say. And now I'm sure all of you have completely lost focus and are just thinking about puppies. All right. MOSFET changed into a dog, it's true. Such a cute puppy. Okay, so there we have it. Let me go back to this, turn the volume down. So yeah, I was saying this thing's actually really, just this timing keeps the ball in play really well, which is fairly kind of funny. Oh, it still hasn't, it's probably better at pinball than I am. Okay. All right, so let me switch out cameras here, and now we'll take a look at how to wire this up. So I've got the guts of this thing here. It's all using some of these tiny little JST connectors, which is too bad because I don't have the female versions of those, so I won't be able to do like a super elegant wiring of those. But let me turn off my iPad over here. We'll go ahead and cut some wires and splice them into this thing. So what we need to figure out is a layout here of the board that I'm using, the Teensy. This wiring needs to somehow get its way up and out to the iPad, and probably I won't be able to use this super short cord. This should be out here on top. So put this thing back together for a second. So here's how the iPad's going to sit in here, and I'm going to have this cable back here. I am a little worried about the stress on it, but I want to do this sort of right angle or U-turn. So I may use something like a little bracket or 3D printed part or some Sugru or something like that to hold this in place here. And then I was thinking about using one of these panel mount USBs. This is a little extension for USB so that I can get the Teensy port exposed here somewhere and then plug a regular USB cable in, and then this. So I'll pop this open and let's take off our little plugs I'll go for the close-up if you like that sort of thing. Okay. I wonder if I could get closer with that. Let's risk it. I don't know. That might be as blurry as all get out. Sorry, this is not a super great camera up above. But there we go. So I've got left button. I'll need battery pack wiring. I will not. I'll only need a couple of the wires off of this micro switch for the plunger because I'm not going to use the infrared sensor, sadly. And this is this micro switch's wire. And then I could also get fancy and plug in the LED that's on the front of the panel. It's actually a red and it's a dual color LED that does red and blue. It might actually, it's probably just an RGB LED that they, no, it really is, okay. So this one does red and blue to kind of signify different modes, Bluetooth pairing, what else did they do? Batteries low, that kind of stuff. Okay, so this board, let's take you out. I don't need you anymore. Now, one thought I had was there's a feather adapter for Teensy that we have in the Adafruit store, so that would allow me to plug the feather adapter into something like our screw shields, little proto feather wing, which would make wiring nice, but a bit bulky, but definitely easy to change things in and out. But I'm afraid I don't have enough space for that. So goodbye to that board. Everyone say goodbye, board. Goodbye, board. And let's check in on Chad here for a second. Bye, IR sensor, yeah. Sorry. Oh, zoom on board. All right. So that's what we had there. And you want to see something funny? You can tell the developers were doing something to help themselves out. This big giant micro switch. I guess that's a bit of an oxymoron. But there's a micro switch sitting here. It dwarfs the size of the other components. And it does not contact anything on here. It can't actually reach the back plane, so it's not like a, hey, you squished the device sensor or something. It's, I'm guessing, something they used when they were programming. Oh, it says reset. Yeah, so they had a little reset switch for themselves that the users never needed. Kind of funny. Okay. So now what we'll do is I think what I might do is I could plug everything directly into the Teensy. The only hitch with that really is that I end up with, I've only got one ground. I think there's only one ground pin on here. And I kind of need a few wires to go there, so it may be helpful to at least send ground to this little perma-proto board. And maybe by mounting the Teensy to this perma-proto board, it gives me something sort of solid and mechanical, because then I can use this screw hole up here. So why don't we try that? So I'm going to get, this is the exciting soldering portion of our show. I think I'm just going to use one of these little arms to solder this guy real quick. Keep it visible for you. Anyone know any jokes? Okay, so it's funny because the Teensy has this little U-shaped set of pins, so you can't really plug that side of it into a breadboard. But I don't need any of those pins on this, so that's okay. That is where, let me just show you this feather adapter for people who are interested. So this is solder fumes, yes. So this here, that's the permaproto, not permaproto, terminal block. Terminal block sort of screw shield for feather. And to be able to plug this into that, you can use this little feather adapter. Hey, there you go, camera. So that adapts the teensy to the feather pin layout, which is kind of cool. I don't think I need it in this case. Let's just go as simple as possible. And I can tell I'm probably going to run out of time to do this all today. I think I'll go for, when did I start? 12. Oh, we got some time. I think I'll go to like 1:30. So let's see how far we get. If not, I'll make this a multi-part thing. All right, so I'm going to get some male header pins and I think solder it just directly to this permaproto. What do you think of that? Sometimes I like to make it removable with little low profile header pins and a female header on the board. Do I have space for that? Maybe I do. All right, let's try that. This is like where I spend a lot of my time, is trying to figure out, oh, what connection. Everything's about interconnectors. How are you going to connect this to that? Do you want it to be permanent? Right. I really dig these. These are lower, oh, I'm just breaking things over there. These are these lower profile short feathers, short headers. So I'll get a couple of those out and lower profile female headers to plug them into. You can just cut these things down to size, but that means that we're not kind of gigantic up off the board. All right. Move you out of the way for a second. And for people concerned about my health, here's my fume extractor. It's actually a 120 volt AC case fan that I used to cool an overclocked computer many years ago. It's a beast. But I wired a little switch in line with it so I can just blow the fumes away. It also sucks up half of anything that's loose on my sort of desk here on my workbench when I'm soldering. So let's pardon the noise, but there we go. And oh, there it goes. It's blowing things right off, as predicted. All right, get over there. Okay, so that's a full big size one on these little baby ones. And sometimes I snap those off with my fingernails, and I end up breaking off the wrong one. So now I'll be good about it and use some diagonal cutters. Where am I looking? Here we go. All right. Power supply case into a fume extractor. That's very cool imagination to form. All right. It is a beefy fan. Low profile headers. Yeah, headers. No, Pedro, those are the best. Okay, so let's, to solder these actually, it's usually easiest to plug it into something. Oh, look, I popped one pin out too far. Oh, that's a goner. All right. That goes into the scrap pile. I did it. Poor job at that. All right, sorry, I need to define my zone of where you can see stuff on my workbench. There we go. I don't normally talk to myself this much when I'm shooting a video that I'm editing later, or maybe I do. Okay, so now what I can do is just match up the female header to the male header and cut that. I'm going to get different snips. I like to use as many things as possible. Actually, I just don't want to hurt these ones. I should have on some safety glasses when I'm doing that, honestly. I don't want to catch one of those shards in the eye. Okay, you see that? Yes. Okay, so now I'll set that into the board. Let's find a good spot. Let's go, I think, like this. And now let's test that clearance. Yeah, I think that'll fit. It's not any higher. So this is a flat plane of what's going on top of it. I think that's going to work. All right, let me screw it in and test it. There's some debate about whether you could make this whole thing from scratch quicker. I'm sure Noah and Pedro could model it in Fusion, 3D print it in the time it takes me to adapt the existing product. There you go. Okay, so if that's in there like that, and that sits, I want the USB cable pointed down. Stay. Sometimes I use poster putty to help keep things from falling out. If I drop that one more time, I will. Oh, yeah, that's not bad. Let me go up a row. Oh, you know what? Let me go all the way up. That'll give me a little more space for this USB panel mount. So what I'm thinking is this goes in like this. Snakes its way around that little injection molded piece of whatever. And that I can cut up into the battery box and leave the battery box open when I plug in the cable. That'll be cool. Maybe even store stuff in there like the adapter. I think that works. Okay. So I will actually solder that while it sits right there. Can I zoom this any further? Nope. Is this thing focused? Maybe. Fast setting. Take a bit to print. Okay. That makes me feel better. Thank you, Noah and Pedro. Okay. So soldering iron. I'm going to wet my sponge a little bit here. If you like to see these things happen, here you go. I don't honestly use the sponge that much. For some reason, I like the little scrubby thing in there. But now we come to the everyone critique my soldering methods portion of the live stream. And some solder. Okay. Bring my fan a little closer, but not chop off my fingers. I like to get the four corners on a thing like this and then double check that it's actually straight. Looks good. See that better? Let me put it way up high. It's going to be probably a little jiggly. Oh, let me do it this way. I just like playing with these crazy arm things. What do we call these? We have a name for these. Helping hands? I like these. And there we go. Yeah, sorry the autofocus isn't super great on that webcam I'm using there. Oh yeah, that's a terrible, unstable thing to try to solder, but there we have it. So I tried plugging in a couple of other microcontrollers with the iPad camera connector USB to Lightning thing, and everything other than this Teensy complained that the device was going to draw more power than the iPad was willing to supply. So I was very happy when this Teensy didn't make the iPad complain. I wish we could play music during this, but if you just turn on the radio, you kind of violate copyright, I'm pretty sure, as soon as we broadcast it. Suddenly the estate of Johnny Cash is going after us. Oh, bad solder joint right there. Oh, and now I've bridged it. That's awesome. I'm just going to try to suck that up. Boom! Fixed. All right, let me be a little more careful. That looks good. Turn off the solder fan. Oh, you know what? I got to do the board female header pins onto my board, which is this guy. What's your soldering temperature? I have this at 650. That's pretty hot, but I don't know. That's just what I use for lots and lots of stuff. Yeah, so if you're just joining us, I'm taking this iPad pinball controller that doesn't work because it's made for a game that I don't want to play, that I don't know if exists anymore, and I'm going to replace its guts. I am replacing its guts, which are gone now. I've already gotten rid of them. I'm replacing them with a Teensy that will send keyboard commands to the iPad to play the pinball game I want to play. That's what's going on. So let's see. Yeah, let's unscrew the board that I put in there, my little quarter-size Perma-Proto. And by the way, I love these ratcheting screwdrivers. I got this like a year ago, and it's channel lock, of all people. It's a really nice ratcheting screwdriver. It stores the bits right there. Oh, a camera. Oh, a camera went out. What happened? Why did you go out? Did you overheat? Okay. I don't know what happened there, but it's back. Yeah, consumer electronics don't actually like to be used for extended period of times like pro gear, so they all just overheat and get mad at you. It's sad. Okay, what was I doing? I'm gonna take my little board and solder the female headers in. like so. Turn on my fan again. Let's see, can I zoom the camera now that it's back? That's as close as I can get with that one. I can actually bring this one lower. This is on a big boom arm. Let me try to lower it a little bit. It's going to wobble for a second. All right, should be a little better. I should have got a manicure. Okay, I'm just going to chase the board around and hold it with my pinky. There are better ways, but I have those packed away somewhere at the moment. Hey, it's straight. Not bad. All right, that's driving me crazy. I will go ahead and clamp this. I told you I like these noodly arm things. So, but I'm going to use a pan of ice. Okie doke. That's better. Yeah, what kind of temperatures do you guys use on this kind of soldering? I don't tend to burn anything out, and I think I like fairly hot temperatures, but I'm using regular good old lead-filled solder, so it doesn't have to be as hot as lead-free, but I think that's a habit for some reason. Usually you watch people solder in a montage, not live. But today, it is live. Okay, that looks good. So let me switch over to this view just for kicks. What view is that? Oh, this view. There we go. Hi, everyone. Okay, so we're back in my workshop. Well, we've always been here. And now I've got my teensy soldered to header pins that I can then pull it in and out of this proto board. And next thing to do is to start wiring up the controller to use the pins on the teensy. Now let's take a look at the computer for a second, just so we know what pins we're doing what to. You saw on my sample program there that, here we go, I wasn't using any pins, right? I was just sending out these L and RH, V, and so on. Delete those now. So once I started looking into this, I found there are a couple people who've already, I'm sure there's many people who've been here before, but I saw a couple people who'd done some really nice teensy arcade controllers. So the one that looked really nice that I want to use, I have it in my notes here somewhere. Is this it? Teensy to arcade. That's a good looking one. Is that it? Yeah, that's the one I want to use. Okay. I loaded this on my board. That worked, but I actually haven't tried using it, so we'll get to explore that together. He does exactly what you'd want to do. He's got the same little diagram here of what buttons do what. So pressing the left button is H to signify down and R to signify up and so on. Then he's mapped that to some Atari pinouts because that's what he's doing, which is not what I'm doing. So ignore that. Defining the different buttons. Here's the keys for those buttons and so on. So looking at the pins he's using for HR is this button 5. And he's got button 5 on pin 8. And the LV he's got as button 8, and he's got that on pin 12. So I'm going to go, I've got a little Evernote going. Let's see, iPad emulator. Okay, so plunger I figured out in the software, in the Pinball Arcade software. The plunger is XZ, which is going to be pin, if we look here, that's the down on the joystick, and that's pin 1. So XZ is going to be pin 1. HR, I said, was going to be button 5, which he has as pin 8. And LV is button 8, which he has as pin 12. So other than if I light up an LED, these are the ones I care about, is 1, 8, and 12 going to those plunger, left flipper, and right flipper. So let's go ahead and solder those up first. I will switch over to, okay, so let's start off with left flipper on 8. Okay. Uh-oh, yeah, no, I'm live. Okay, I just stopped moving and I freaked myself out on the monitor like I had frozen, but this is me. Okay, so I said we're going to do left flipper to pin 8. Okay, so let's see, we have some choices here. I think all I'll do is strip these. You see these guys? Yeah, I'm going to strip their little connectors. Sorry, guys, I just don't have your mates. And go direct. So for this, I want to improve my lighting. So let me turn on this. It's a little dark right here on the bench. And hopefully I don't put that right in the camera. There we go. I can see a little better now. Okay. So that is left flipper. Just going to separate these wires a little and then strip them. Looks like those are 24 gauge. And let's go ahead and tin those. So sometimes I find myself going in one of two modes for this sort of thing, which is build one entire one and see how it works, or go into assembly line mode and strip and tin, strip and tin, strip and tin all of those wires, solder them in, solder them in, solder them in, then see, cross your fingers and see if it worked. But let's do the smarter thing here and try testing one first. Okay, so if this is going to be here, that can maybe meet ground right up there. Okay. Before I do that, since I'm not making this as an easy to remove thing, I will go ahead and wire the ground from the Teensy out to the ground rails on here. So unfortunately the Teensy has all of its pin labels on the bottom side of it, so they provide a very lovely chart, which is helpful. So I can look at this. It's written on the bottom, and that's what that looks like, but this chart is actually more helpful because it's in the same direction. I won't get something mirrored and flipped. All right, ground is the upper left corner. What did I miss? Hey, that's awesome. What was I doing? I really... Nice. Why did I do that? I absolutely didn't cut those off in the exact wrong place. Oh, good. So I get to add one pin. Oh, no. I was just plugged in the wrong spot. No, I totally screwed that up. All right, good. I get to solder in one single pin and extend that. Super. All right, how about I'll leave you connected and solder that in like so. Genius move, Park. All right, so I'm going to solder and kind of tack that in, and then I can heat it and bend it to get it to the right. You see this? Here we go. Turn on my fan too. Looks straight. Snip off the rest. I don't know why I didn't do that. Maybe I got distracted. Maybe that's when Alana, the puppy, came to visit. Who knows? Okay, same thing with this one. One more pin. I don't even know if I need that one, but why not? That's V in. I don't think I'll need that. Okay. Straighten that. Live stream error, remember, can happen live. Yeah, for sure. You never see that in our edited videos, or not as much, which is probably dumb. I should probably include more of these fun errors, but everyone makes them. Okay, so let's add in. Why won't you fit? He doesn't want to. All right, I gotta literally snip one off. What's at that end? Am I using what's there? Yes, pins 12 and 13. Super. That doesn't want to fit up against him. He's like a half a space off, so I need to like grind that down. I'm literally gonna just turn on a grinder and shave a little off. Again, truth, this is often how I work, so. All right, those are now shorter, made so mechanically. Okay. But is it shorter enough? Yes. Now I'll hold them in place with the teensy. Just so I can solder those in. Let's bring this around. You can see a little better. So I'm just going to solder on the one pin I need and then trim off the other, just so I don't get confused about where to plug that in. Oh, that's not good. That one's kind of falling off. I almost need to glue that in there. The pin's staying in place? Yeah, but the plastic is coming off. All right, I'll glue it. Disaster. How about this one? This one's a little better. Okay, we're back in business. So now to run ground from that pin there, which is why I just had to make that recovery, out to the ground rail here. I'm just going to make a little tiny jumper. So sometimes I just make a lot of custom jumpers, honestly, using these multicolor wire packs. Because the pre-made ones they're very convenient, especially when you're breadboarding, but they're never the right length. So I'll just take a little piece like this. I know it seems labor intensive, but I'm open to other suggestions. This is how I tend to do it. So I can go from there out to ground there. I will literally just mark that with my fingernail and strip it right there. And that will go ground out to the ground rail. Oh, let me switch cameras so you can see the big stuff big. Sorry about that. That's what you care about. Okay. So that's going to take ground out to this rail. Solder that in. And I'll test continuity on some of these things as I go too, just to reality check, because it's easier to do it as you go. So here's my handy dandy multimeter, which is tied up something or other at the moment. And so that'll beep when we have continuity, like that. And let's see, for our purposes here, I'm just going to have a little piece of wire on the end of that one from something else, but that'll work. Okay, good. So the ground makes it out to this ground rail. Makes sense? I find that to be helpful. Assorted lengths of wire. Yeah, right. I do have them. It's just they're scraps from, like, oh yeah, here's some assorted lengths of wire. And they're never the right length, so I just cut new ones. All right, so ground to ground. And now we'll go, let's see, is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else I'm soldering on here. But from here forward, I'll be connected to these switches, so my movement will be a little limited. So looking back at our guide, it's going to be left flipper to 8. Okay, so let's do the ground first. I tinned that already. Just put that through there. see that? There you are. Okay, so that switch ground going to ground. I'm just going to blow that solder fume out of my face. That's the poor man's fume extractor when you're feeling lazy. Can't move the few inches over here to turn that switch. And now pin 8, I'm going to refer to the chart here. There's pin 8. And pin 8 is not labeled from this side, so how about I make that not upside down? I'm going to do it this way because that's the position I'm putting it in. Pin 8 is going to be up here. Well, wouldn't it be nice if these numbers lined up? Occasionally you'll have the numbers on the breadboard permaproto line up with something and it's like magic. Not so this time. Okay, so your pin, who are you? 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. And that's row 5 on this thing. Double checking. 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Row 5, yeah. So this will come across and row 5, I'll plug you in right there. So by the way, I did test this much last night. The Teensy has input pull-up resistors, so you don't need to put resistors in line or ducking out to the power to a pin to be able to check a button switch. In case you're wondering why I'm not using any resistors, you don't need them in this case. The input pull-up resistors built onto the M4 processor can do the trick. So I love that because, man, it's a pain when you have extra resistors to go ahead and solder and you're doing a bunch of buttons. Not so in this case. And there we go. So this will be enough right here to test this. So what we have now is I should be able to, when I program this Teensy with that software and everything works, crossing fingers, we should be able to do a little test of the Pinball arcade using the Duo Pinball controller. So I'm going to switch over to program. Yeah, I'm kind of glad I did that, so now I can take that off. Oh yeah, darn it, that one that I put in down here did break off, so we'll have to deal with that. Those didn't work. All right, my repair was terrible. Okay, so for the moment, that's a bummer, and we won't talk about it, because why we want to bum ourselves out. And let's switch to okay, so Teensy Arcade, okay, I did make an Arduino sketch for that, yes. So this is the sketch version of that. This is the Arduino version of that. Plug in my Teensy, which will immediately start typing letters. Is this the one that does that? It might. Let me grab the other one. I have two Teensys, and one of them probably isn't programmed to destroy. Okay, I'll put a couple comment lines in and plug it in. And good, it didn't do anything. Oh, it is. It's typing R's. Okay, so let me put him into reset mode. I can delete those. I'm just holding the reset button down on the Teensy while I do this. And upload. It looks like it has successfully uploaded. That's a good sign. So reboot, okay. Yeah, it looks good. All right, so let's plug it in. Yeah, you know what, one test I'll do real quick while I'm still here at the computers. I'm just going to grab a jumper wire, and I'm going to touch ground to pin 8 and see if it types in the letters that I expect. So here's my little sacrificial space here for the typing. And holy cow, do I need glasses to see the silk screen on the back of this. Teensy, you're very teensy. Okay, ground and pin 8. Yeah, HR, yeah, good. So it's programmed properly. H being button down, R being button up for one of those flipper buttons. I hope I got it right. I hope it was the left one. Oh, what did I do? I just programmed the one that doesn't have the... Oops. I'm going to program the one that has the header pins on it now. And in you go. And upload. Upload OK. Yes. And I'll do that same test again, just to be thorough. All right. Ground to 8. Yep, HR. Awesome. Let's switch up my cameras here for you. Okay, here we go. We've got the Teensy. It has been told to type in HR when this button gets pressed. So I will go ahead and plug it into my iPad. Let me zoom this camera out a little bit. That's good. And camera connector, check. Turn it on. Thumbprint identification. And just to be dramatic about it and milk this a little bit, I'm going to go out to Notepad again to confirm what this button does. Want plug this one into this one. Okay, what can you see? Okay, if you can see the button. Is ground, let's see. Nothing. Let me try shorting it again. Let's see, so that should be ground there to pin 5, who is from this view. Or I said pin 8. Pin 8. It's not good. Let's see. All right, I'm going to turn over to chat in case someone goes, hey, dude, you forgot the such and such. No. All right. Someone tell me what I've done wrong. Oh, did I solder you to the wrong? No, that's the right place. Let's try replugging. Okay, so it recognizes a keyboard is there because if you see this, this is a good sign. Let me see what you can see, sorry. This is a good sign on iPad when you're doing this kind of stuff. If your virtual keyboard disappears in an app, then your physical keyboard you've plugged in is recognized. So right there, that's a good sign. That means this thing is like powered up. It's not complaining about that at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did that just type or not? What am I doing wrong here? It's funny, I see I see this light lighting. I wonder, so in this software, it tries to light up an LED when a button is being pressed, and that could be that it's too much current draw for what we're doing. So I'm going to go, yeah, and just in case, hope of hopes, let's just check that it doesn't somehow miraculously work in here. No, that's not moving a bumper. Okay, so I'm going to switch out and turn off that line of code that tries to light up an LED just to see if that's causing our problems. Okay, so let's switch back over to the computer. We have about 15 minutes before I wrap this up, so if we do or don't get this piece of it working, it's okay, because I will do another live stream where I put the rest of it together and get the USB port plugged in properly, cleaned up, screw it all back together, and have a functional machine. So that'll probably be the second stream I do. All right, so in the meantime, let's check your code. Thank you. Yes, checking code. So I know that the code was definitely working when I plugged it into the computer here and told it to type these. So it does read that pin. But what I want to do is plug it in, and I'm going to look for where the LEDs are being lit up and kind of squash that. Normally I edit in a text editor that has some color coding. I like to use the syntax highlighting in Sublime Edit, but I'll just do this here in Arduino this time. So let's look up at the top here for the LED pin 11, LED blink. All right, so I'm just going to search for the word LED. Sets it to output. Pin mode is output. And here's where it does some blinking. So let's see, I just want to suppress all of that jazz, actually. All right, so I'm commenting this out. Sorry for all you software people watching me crudely hack at this the way I'm going to, but that's how I work. Yeah, that can't be there, though. Pins on, okay. That's okay. I'm going to get rid of this. You know, I'm going to regret doing it that crudely. I'm just going to hide any lines where I'm actually touching the LED. Okay, so sorry about this, folks. Let's see, status, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter. Output, I'm just looking for where it goes high. LED status equals high. I'm just going to literally comment that out. And I'll just, out of paranoia, get rid of where it's low, because sometimes these things are inverted. And it goes high. Goes back to low. All right, so we'll make a, if you comment that pin for output out, shouldn't that be enough? It might be, yeah. This is probably driving you all crazy, sorry. Like, let's try to compile it. I broke that. Let's try to compile it again. It's compiled, so let's upload it. And then I will quickly test with the jumper if it still does what it should do. Okay, that's done uploading. So let's go back here, get rid of these guys. And again, I've got to go from ground to 8. Grab my handy dandy chart. Okay, ground to 8. We should see letters. Type still. Yeah, okay, I hit the wrong one though. There they are. Okay. And no lights. All right, let's test it over here. Ow! Just whacked my head on that camera. Okay, so testing this again. Plug you in. And then if this doesn't work, I'll start checking some other continuities, but it should work with even just jumping directly on the board. So let's plug you in. I don't think it's working. Let's go back to Notepad. Okay, it does think we have a keyboard. It doesn't work from the pin. I'm going to take it off of this board just in case I'm like shorting something or doing something weird there. And oh, I've lost my chart. Oh, here's my chart. Ground is here. You see what I'm doing? Sorry. Where's the camera? Oh, I blew the... That's when my head hit the camera. It's on a boom. Sorry about that. Okay, so the 5th up. Okay, that's working. So is ground oh, yeah, you know what? Oh, no. Am I just plugged in wrong? I got myself upside down here, I think. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, this is 8. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. And does that really ground? No. Ah, that's what I did. I've been connecting. No wonder that LED lit. I've been connecting pin 13 to an LED. I've been grounding that LED. So cute. I'm going to go ahead and repair that. Let's clip that from there. I'll leave the button plugged into this ground rail, but I did not properly send ground to that rail. I was confused and flipped upside down. All right, this is going to work. So, black wire. Go ahead and strip it. And now where I have to actually go is from there. That's the ground. Over to, let's say, to that rail. Sometimes I do these under the board too, but let's just go right there. Solder that. Put it where you can see it. Oh yeah, and you know what? This is also that, unfortunately, this is that bad Yeah, this is that one I screwed up. Okay. Pull that. Yes, in just a tiny little way, I ruined everything. Move this. Oh, that worked. That's nice. Okay, so let's put some female headers in for the ground. Okay, this is the trick of holding stuff while you solder, so I'm just going to wrap a piece of wire in the midair. Just put it there. This is why these are called third hands. And I do need to still shave off a little bit of that. Plastic. Slot this into here. That's a nice fit. Okay, so now I'll grab these glasses again. Okay. Maybe we've saved it. Let's see. Oh. That camera just went out. Sorry. Camera's back. Okay. You probably just missed me soldering that in. That was the missing piece. All right, let's see if the teensy fits into there nicely now. Unplug you. Okay, so that's ground. All right. And go from right there. This one has kind of a light base, which I don't love. I have some other heavier based ones that work well. Yep, got to kind of counterweight him with his other arm. All right, so that'll be ground across to the other side, like so. And I can mark that and strip it right there. Oh, shoot, sorry, I didn't push that fix. Aw, man, sorry about that, everyone. There should be like a screaming noise that comes out of my streaming software when you guys say the word. Okay, so that good, you can see. All right, let's cross fingers. Let's check continuity, let's say. Does that button ground it? Oh, you know what? Forget that. Let's just try it. All right, connected to a button, connected to a iPad. Yeah, look at that. All right, that's exciting. If you get excited about these sorts of things, like I do. Okay. See that? It's typing. It's probably a little blurry for you, but that's HR. Now let's head on over to the pinball game and play a very exciting one flipper version. And let's do it with music. Yes, we have left flipper. It's not the one we need. Oh, it lets me hit that one. That's good. I didn't think it would. Yeah. Woo! That's exciting. All right. Let's see what we can accomplish in the next 1 minute. Let's wrap it up, actually. So there we have it. I am so happy that we have one working flipper in the pinball controller. So what we'll do next time, I got to figure out when I'm going to broadcast live again. But what we'll do is get the plunger and all the rest of that, the other button plugged in, and then maybe the LED. And this will need a little bit of cable routing, and then we'll end up with the glorious plunger. Oh my God, that's so satisfying compared to that awful virtual thing. Yay. All right, I'm going to come over and take a look at the chat just for a second and see if there's any questions before we call it. So let me make, do I have a window? Oh, here's a window I can use. All right, chatters. Pinball Wizard, I play by sense of smell. This is true. Thank you for being excited along with me that that worked. Noah and Pedro, I appreciate it. Chatbot that reads comments and sells to YouTube. It sounds terrifying and dangerous, but probably a good idea. Masking tape to hold things. Oh, you were trying to help me when I was doing all my balancing act on soldering, right, Andrew Gilmore? Thank you. Yeah. Chatbot, Pinball Wizard. Good job, Captain. Thank you, TrueTech. Let's see. So I think that this will be pretty cool to get working just on this level. You know, I had big dreams of maybe making an MDF cabinet that looks a little more like a pinball table and all that. Put real buttons. I've got this great collection of real arcade buttons. It's not too huge, but it's some of the ones that we sell on Adafruit. So we have some options if we did want to swap out for other. I've got some nice, here you can see new in the bag. I've got some of these 30 millimeter ones. Some of these are the lighted ones. Whoop, there we go. Some of these are these lighted arcade buttons, which would be kind of cool. And I kind of like this idea of doing a purpose-built controller that's just made for one game, really. So it can be very specific for the pinball arcade, which maybe I'll decorate this thing to look cool. I wonder if we could hydrographic cover this thing, Noah and Pedro. Yeah, imagination to form tilt. So I think this game might have tilt based on accelerometer in the iPad itself, but I'll need to secure it a little bit better inside of the case to be able to use tilt. This might be helpful, yeah, like as an assistive device. UL Adams might be helpful. People can't use hands fully. Right. Yeah, I love the idea of doing assistive help controllers for sure. Let's see. Other questions? 3D printed buttons. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Did anyone else see Tommy when they were way too young? I was a very little kid, and for some reason, I might have been like 7 years old, and I saw the movie Tommy based on the Who's rock opera, and it scared the hell out of me. I still like that song, but I'm scared of Tina Turner, and I'm scared of Iron Maidens filled with syringes as a result. It was playing on TV in Italy, and we were there for the summer with my mom's family. That and Phantasm. That was another movie I saw way too young that scarred me probably. Oh, so yeah, let me type in, I can type in the chat here. The game I'm playing is the Pinball Arcade. Yo, Adams, that would be cool. Yeah, you could do a big Mondo. What do they make? Like 12-inch pseudo computer tablet things. You could do this. This gets into MAME cabinet territory pretty quickly too, because this could just be running on the Windows PC version or Mac version and displaying on a big, huge display. If you check online, holy cow, people make really cool pinball machines that use full, probably 40-something inch LCDs as the table, and some of them even have the backplane for the scoring. It's crazy, go nuts. Very cool. Oh, heavy metal movie. Yeah, that'll scar you. Anything Ralph Bakshi will scar your imagination for him, for sure. Okay, I'm just gonna check. Okay, I think we're good. This is 1:34. I think it's time to wrap it up. So I will say thank you, everybody, and I'll let you know when I broadcast again. Oh, that's the thing telling me you better stop, pal. Okay, I'll switch to that. And bye, everyone. I can't type well. Ending stream now. Bye-bye.